5, chapter 16. Stop that boy. One of the policemen blew his whistle, toot toot, while the other shouted, stop that boy. Eric darted down the road as the policeman gave chase. Londoners had emerged from the underground or their bomb shelters. They were gathered in groups inspecting the terrible damage from the night's bombing. Rubble was being searched for survivors. People were calling out the names of loved ones. Grandad? Grandad! Others fell to their knees and wept to see everything they'd worked for all their lives destroyed. But most looked around as they heard the police whistle and the cry of, stop that boy. Why did he need to be stopped? Times were hard, and it had been known for some to steal from the bombed out homes or even the bodies of the dead. Was the boy a thief? Soon, some folks were joining the chase. Stop that boy! Came more and more cries. Eric was frightened. All he could think to do was run faster and faster and dodge out of the way of the sea of arms reaching out to grab him. Get him! Stop him! Catch him! More police whistles sounded. Toot toot! Suddenly, it seemed as if the whole of London were after him. Still, Eric kept running. He was exhausted from being up all night, but somehow his little legs kept powering him along. Now he was running across the roads, dodging out of the way of buses and taxis. Ahead of him was London Bridge, which stretched out across the River Thames. Behind him, the policemen and the mob were gaining on him. Up ahead, Eric could see a trio of policemen on bicycles pedalling in his direction. The policemen leaped off their bicycles, clatter, and blocked the boy's path. Now he was trapped. Eric was in big trouble for running away from the policeman. He had to flee, but there was nowhere to go. The boy held on to the balustrade of the bridge and looked out across the Thames. Chugging under the bridge was a barge loaded with hundreds of cardboard boxes. The angry grown-ups were getting closer and closer. Eric climbed onto the top of the railings. And there's a shot of him on the top of the railings there. The mob stopped, forming a semicircle around him. Don't do anything stupid, son, shouted the first policeman. Eric only had seconds to make his decision. Any moment now, that boat would have passed. Could he? Eric closed his eyes. Once again, he pictured how Gertrude leaped from one place to another. And so, with all his strength, Eric pushed off with his feet. Whoosh! No! Someone shouted. It was too late. Eric was sailing through mid-air. There's a shot of him in mid-air. I hope he makes it. Chapter 17. Sid's Secret. Douche! Eric landed on the cardboard boxes on the boat. On London Bridge, whistles blew. Toot toot! Shouts could be heard. Stop that boat! Somebody dive in after him! Don't let him get away! But they were deafened by the sound of the barge's engine as it powered along the Thames. Toot 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 toot. Soon the bridge and all those on it were in the distance. Eric lay down on one of the boxes, resting at last, after what had been the most dramatic of nights. Grandma was gone forever. He couldn't let the same fate befall Gertrude. He had a matter of hours to save her. Soon Eric could feel the barge slowing as it entered the port. He hid between the gaps in the boxes, and as soon as the barge reached the dock, he leaped off. The port was bustling with dockers hard at work. No one paid much attention to this little stowaway. Again, there's a shot of him jumping from the boat. Now Eric was in a distant and unfamiliar place in a part of East London. The boy had to find his Uncle Sid. With the old man's help, he was sure he could save Gertrude. In no time, Eric spotted the nearest underground station. Without money to pay for the train ticket, he had no choice but to slip through the barrier. When the ticket inspector called after him, "Hey, come back here," he leaped onto the stair rail and slid down it on his bottom. He sped past Londoners trudging up the steps, laden with blankets, pillows, and the like after spending the night on the platform. Eric leaped aboard the first train and sped across the city. It was strange that for all the years Eric had known his Uncle Sid, he'd never once visited his home. No one had. It was something of a family joke. He never went to Uncle Sid's house. He always came to yours. This made the boy imagine that the old man might be hiding something. Was his house stupidly small or horrendously messy, or did he hate people using his toilet? Soon the boy was going to discover Sid's secret. Although he'd never been there, Eric remembered the old man's address from writing Christmas and birthday cards to him. So, studying the map in the train carriage, he found the right stop, Clapham Common, and hopped off. Blinking in the bright sunlight, Eric discovered it was just a short walk from the station to Sid's house. Up in the sky, he could see one of London's many barrage balloons bobbing about. These huge balloons were tethered to the ground all over the city. Their job was to impede enemy aircraft, but judging by the devastation of last night's bombing raid, they hadn't made a big difference. Sid lived in an impossibly narrow terraced house, pretty much the same as every impossibly narrow terraced house on that street. That was the outside. The inside, however, was a completely different story. Eric knocked on the battered old front door. "I'm not in," came a cry from the other side of the door. It was Sid, all right. By all accounts, he was very much in. Eric knocked again. "I am out." "No, you're not," called the boy. "Yeah, I am. Uncle Sid, it's me, Eric." There was a silence for a moment. Then came the sound of tin feet clanking on the floor. Clink, clank, clunk. The letterbox opened. "Shunt. What are you doing here?" hissed Sid through the letterbox. "I've come to see you." "I don't accept visitors, ever." There was a strange honking sound in the background. "Honk." "What was that?" asked Eric. "What was what?" replied Sid, pretending he hadn't heard anything. "That sound." "I didn't hear anything." "Honk, honk." "There it is again." "Oh, that?" "Yeah, that. Just my bottom honking. I had some dried prunes for breakfast." "I know the sound of your bottom honking only too well, and it doesn't sound like that." "I'm so sorry, Eric. It's not a good time." "Please, I've nowhere else to go." "Don't be silly. What about your granny?" "She's gone." The next thing Eric heard was a bolt being unbolted and the lock being unlocked. Shunt. Click. The door opened and Sid stood there with his arms wide open. The boy walked towards him and they embraced. The pair stood and held each other tight. No words were necessary. There's a shot of that. Chapter 18 is honk, honk, honk. We'll find out what that is tomorrow. Have a good day.